Nilesh bhai, coming home, right? Given this context and framework, which you very beautifully explained, what are the implications for India? Because here, what we have chosen really use the central bank's balance sheet very aggressively to pump liquidity into markets. However, on the fiscal side, government has not done that much directly in terms of stimulus. Of course, they've done a lot of other things like guarantee loans and things, indirect stimulus, but direct stimulus is low. So, how do you see things evolving in India?
So, in the Indian context, when we announced our economic package, lockdown was continuing and supply side was restricted. If we would have given fiscal stimulus then, the demand would have gone up, but supply would have been choked and inflation would have come into play. It's far better to give fiscal stimulus when your supply side is unchoked and inflation will not become a threat. So my guess is that fiscal stimulus will eventually come in tranches when supply side is completely open as we speak right now. Second, at the end of the day, RBI and government is like Sachin Tendulkar and Saurav Ganguly or Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. Both of them are capable of explosive betting. But if one is on fire, the other person has to hold the other end. Now, we are one of the few countries in the world which have ability to fire multiple bullets. RBI has cut interest rates to lifetime low level on policy side, repo at 4%. But they still have room to cut 400 basis points on repo. No other country in the world is capable of cutting interest rate at that level. Now, government's fiscal deficit to GDP ratio is upwards of 5-6% this year. But our debt to GDP ratio is still 70% without taking into account parallel economy. We can easily raise another 10-15% debt to GDP to fund our growth if there is a need. Third, Government of India sits on many dead assets which it can monetize. For example, since 1965, we have custodian of enemy property, where 9,000 real estates of people who migrated to Pakistan pre-independence are lying unutilized. They are being encroached upon. Why not clean it up and sell it and raise resources? We can also follow Margaret Thatcher model, where when she became Prime Minister of United Kingdom, she started cutting down government assets like parks, palaces, big offices, big bungalows for their ICS, their administrative services, and so on and so forth. There is possibility to cut government assets significantly to raise resources to fund expenditure. More importantly, India is one of the few countries where there is dead asset lying in individuals' accounts. No one knows how much gold India owns. It could be anywhere between 2 trillion to 3 trillion. Now, what if we bring an amnesty scheme where we say you disclose your Tijoriwala gold into bank account, and at 25 or 30% tax, it gets part of white economy. Even if 10% of gold moves from Tijori to bank account, that's probably $200 billion move. And at 30% tax rate, that's $60 billion revenue. So we have ability to fire fiscally, monetarily, and through monetization of dead assets to raise resources to fund investment to create GDP growth. And in all these things, there's one more opportunity coming to India, which we missed out sadly in 1980. 1980, India and China were of similar size. China became manufacturer to the world. Hum log piche reh gaye. They are now 5 times bigger than us. What we did with becoming back office to the world through India's IT and BPO industry, we need to now replicate on the manufacturing side. Companies wants to move out of China. There is severe competition from Thailand and Korea to Bangladesh to Mexico. But all those countries put together does not have 136 crore consumer market which India has. So there will be natural interest of people to come into a large market like India. Second, we have democracy. Many of our competitors does not have democracy like India. Third, the goodwill of India has gone up in the world now As China exported Wuhan virus to the world, we exported hydroxychloroquine tablet. Put all these things together, can we replace red tape with red carpet? Can we bring companies out of China to India? If we are successful, we will create another level of growth. So there are lots of silver lining in the dark clouds. And if we can play our card well, using fiscal stimulus, monetization of debt assets, attracting foreign direct investment, and also on a reciprocal basis, getting their labor market opening up and shifting some of our labor, we create another stream of remittances. Put all these things together, India has a golden opportunity in this dark clouds.
Very nicely put, Nilesh bhai. Just a follow-up question on that. This entire manufacturing opportunity has been available to us for some time now. But just to borrow from someone's quote, we are a very noisy democracy, right? So you are on a lot of these policy panels. Practically on the ground, are there any steps you think we can take to accelerate this process? Because I think a lot of the solutions are known, and many people have also voiced their opinions. But somewhere, we get caught up in this entire conundrum of debates. And like I said, we are a very noisy democracy. On the ground, are there any practical steps that, all of us can take? I'm saying that, look, it's very easy to put blame on the government or any other counterparty. But I really look at it, this way, that we are all part of the ecosystem, right? Are there any practical steps that you think we can take towards this?
So one, Ashish, India, whatever you say, opposite is always true.
Yeah.
So if there is someone saying that India is a very bad country, I can give you 1,000 examples to prove why it is a good country. If someone says why India is a great country, I can give 1,000 examples to say why India is a bad country. We are not a homogeneous society. Our smallest state, Goa, has population equivalent to Estonia. Our biggest state, UP, has population equivalent to Brazil. There may be just 10 countries ahead of UP in terms of population. Our richest state, Delhi, is as rich as Indonesia. Our poorest state, UP, is poorer than Nepal. We are not a country, we are a continent. So when you are evaluating India, if you say there is homogeneity, it is impossible. We are the living example of a chaos working or anarchy which is functioning. Now let me give you some positives. Vestas, a German wind turbine maker, came to India from China, and they said, we set up our factory in China in 18 months. In India, they could set up their factory in 15 months. Wow. Now, how many Indians will be aware of this? We have an ecosystem which will highlight, yesterday 22,000 people got infected with COVID-19. But they will not highlight that yesterday 20,000 people recovered from COVID-19. Net addition is 2,000 people on 136 crore people. We are interested in self-denigrating ourselves. When our people go and write in international forum, they are more than happy to project our negativity rather than our positivity. We are not a perfect country by any means. We have our limitations, we have our challenges, but everything is not bad.
Right. No, you're right.
The way we provided Vestas execution capability, it's a fantastic thing. Our media went gaga over Elon Musk setting up their Tesla factory in 12 months in China. Did we hear similar noise when Tata Motors started rolling out Nano in 18 months from Sanand about 10 years back? No. So somewhere we need to get back into a mindset where we start doing more of right things and less of wrong things. I don't think so we can ever reach a state where we will do everything right. We have to accept success with failure.
No, you're absolutely right, Nilesh. I think we can do with every bit of positivity at this point in time, given the circumstances. I think that was a very enriching overview of the macros in India. And I just want to summarize what you said, Nilesh, because you explained it very beautifully. I think the first part where you mentioned that the stimulus need not be treated as a one-time activity. This is a challenge that we are going to muddle through over the next few months. So you rightly said that as one batsman, is pinch hitting, the other guy needs to take singles. So on one side, the central bank has obviously done a lot. On the fiscal side, we are doing it gradually. And like you rightly said, you also need to ensure the supply side bottlenecks are solved. It is not enough by just stimulating demand. I think the second point you made was also very, very relevant, that though the fiscal deficit in India, the combined fiscal deficit may be high, our balance sheet is still very good. I mean, compared to a lot of the European countries, if I look at the combined debt to balance sheet ratios of 70%, I think we are one of the best. So there is significant place to garner resources on the balance sheet front. And then you also mentioned that there are so many assets that the government can unlock, right? So resource raising is not a constraint at all, and it's just the pace at which you do it. How do you moderate it? Because this is a complete unknown. We don't know how long this will last. So I think a measured approach is what the government has taken, and time will tell how this works out. But I think you explained it beautifully in those three parts. And you answered my follow-up question as well, which I was going to ask you, that what is stopping us from going back to high growth rate? And you explained beautifully that there are a lot of opportunities in front of us. Obviously, given the noisiness of our country and the like you said, that we are a perfect example of a nation working systematic manner through chaos, right? And I'm sure we will thrust with the kind of positivity that you brought in.